Hi, this is the Good, Brave, and Heroic podcast. Welcome. We hope that shimmy shimmy. We hope that you enjoy this one. Some of you might relate a lot to it. Others, this might be a totally new thing, and you might not relate, and that's okay. So we're going to be talking about the lessons we've learned in this parenting journey. And it's going to go where it's going to go. It's probably going to stay there. It's probably going to branch off into different things, into different areas. We'll see where it goes.
The fun thing about parenting is that you just get like thrown in. It's similar to marriage in a way, because everybody, like a lot of people, I don't want to go off on a tangent 30 seconds in, but I remember it was for both of us, it was really annoying how people were just like, oh, you're getting married. Wow. Get ready for dealing with him putting underwear on the floor. And talking about marriage, like that's a silly one, but talking about marriage like it's the biggest weight.
There goes a death sentence.
Yeah, and then you're basically thrown in, and you just have to do life with this person that you've been with for a while, but you never did life so intimately with them.
Yeah.
So it's like you're thrown in.
And it's hard, but
it is hard.
Yeah,
it's not easy.
Hard.
It's hard, but it's also great if you do the work that is hard. But parenting is just like it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I know. What would it be called? Like pre-parenting class, like prenatal counseling. No, it's no pre-parenting.
People could give you a lot of idea. It was written all over your face. People can give you good advice and stuff, but when you're going through it, it's just like all the emotions, and it's completely different. Like, I chose to love you and commit to you. When Kaya was born, it just happens.
Yeah.
Like, I loved her immediately. I'm committed to her immediately. The first time I saw her, it was love at first sight. Literally, it doesn't exist.
First sight for you too.
All right. This is not about that, okay? We could do our love story in another episode. Anyway, why you turning around? You better turn right back over here. And there's a lot of lessons that come with it. There's a lot of great moments. There's a lot of hard moments. I think one place that my mind goes to immediately is just how much parenting teaches you about yourself.
Oh my God, yeah.
You sounded like you were going to say more, and I was like, oh my God, yeah.
I knew it, and then as I was saying it, I'm like, he's gonna expect me to say something.
As in what?
Now, he's gonna expect me to say something,
and
I'm purposely not going to.
Your face didn't look like that. You looked like you were like you got caught with your pants down, and you're like, oh, I don't know what to do now.
What did you even say? I don't even know what you said.
I don't even know anymore. Something about parenting, having children, teaches you a lot about yourself. Yeah,
it does. I think I find myself so many times like.
So you do have something.
I do. I'm telling myself on purpose.
Okay,
I'm
right,
going to expect you to say something.
Good.
Don't. I come back to this.
You see what I had to deal with?
You said it.
Lovingly and bravely, I deal with it. It is the choice of a lifetime.
It is.
It is.
I find myself, and I know every parent is different with their own ideas of what it should be like and what you want to teach your kids. I'm the kind of parent that is always thinking about how to, my personality is right all the way, right? How to maximize everything, how to make even the slightest thing educational, also full of memories, also full of love, also full of all these things that'll be impactful in every way possible. It could be the smallest thing. It can be like she spilled a little bit of milk. And I'm like, how can I make this a teachable moment, an educational moment, a loving moment, a memorable moment? How can I grow her social? And it's just so much because you love this little person so much that you just want to do the most in whatever way that is for you. And
You sound like you're crazy about this person.
yes, I am. And so even with Lily, like, she's so small. I remember even when Kaya was so small, every little moment, even though she couldn't speak yet, I was looking for ways to maximize every moment. And you can sometimes get lost in that and sometimes even miss the moment. Anyway, so I'm always thinking about ways to do all those things. And I had this moment, this aha moment, where I was thinking about I don't remember what it was, but I was thinking about how to do something, like how to teach Kaya to do something, and eventually Lily. And then I'm like, wait, the best way to teach her is to do it myself. If I can't, I think it was like, maybe it was an emotional thing. If I can't learn to, I'm going to pick something. I think it was this, but I'm just going to pick it. If I can't learn to slow down, then she's never going to see what that looks like and not going to learn it. I want her to learn it, but she's not going to know how to do it. And my words aren't enough if she's not seeing me do it. And so that makes me have to go like, it feels like you have to like revamp and go 10 steps back and go, okay, how do I do that for myself? You have to figure it out for yourself so that you can teach it and then model it for your little ones. And sometimes who knows how deep you have to dig to do that.
Yeah, to dig pretty deep. For me, man, that is like the crux of what it is. You're digging really deep when you become a parent. You're, and you can't help it unless unless maybe you are not a very introspective person already, but I already am. And so when Kaya was born and then Lily, all of our interactions teach me so much about myself. And then on top of that, it's not just me interacting with them, it's then how they interact with me and the world. Mm-hmm. Right? So every time I see Kaya get very frustrated and very angry when sometimes she could have a little bit of a short fuse, I see me.
Yeah, me too.
I see me.
Even Lily, and she's so small.
And granted, like I'm the type of person where I want to give my kids the best. And we, as a couple, have decided that for a lot of things, the buck stops with us. Like we've determined to break curses. We've determined to break strongholds. We've determined that we're going to break patterns. And sometimes you get so focused on the bigger ones that you start to fail to recognize the small ones, the day-to-day ones. And I think that those day-to-day ones, like when I see Kaya frustrated, like I would get frustrated, or she has an attitude towards one of us that's less than ideal, right? Or she gives up very, very easily on something where and doesn't want to hear anybody's help or feedback. I'm just like, then I get upset. And I'm like, sometimes I literally tell myself, why are you mad? That's you. And that's like hard to accept. And I don't know that all parents get to that place. I think that most parents, because even me, I've been in a place where I'm just like, well, you just need to do what I say. Do as I say, not as I do. And that's not fair to her. That's not fair to her because she she's at a place at her life where she is completely a sponge. They are completely in a place in their life where they are still very much so whiteboards that are just being filled in. And sometimes I tell myself I expect too much from her and I expect too little of me.
That's good. That reminds me of this TikTok that you sent me.
TikTok.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was this, I think it was this guy talking about something Mr. Rogers said. And it was a really sweet video. But what really stuck out to me was toward the end, he said something about like, when children come into the world, we treat them like adults and we don't remember that we need to come down into their world. It's not the opposite because they're too little to understand, to follow the rhythm, the quick pace of our world.
Yeah.
They don't understand the concepts or the reasons why we do things, and they don't need to.
Right.
Don't. We teach them those things in little bite-sized portions as it's appropriate, but we need to come down to their world. When I think about her frustrations, I think about there was this time I was maybe 11, and I was not doing well, and I was physically like having these symptoms, but I wasn't sick. And my mom took me to the doctor, and the doctor diagnosed me with stress. I was like 11. And my mom was like, what? What do you mean?
And what did the typical Spanish parents say?
And I was like, you're not stressed, you're 11. And I'm like, I looked at my mom, like, and I love my mom, dear. This is not to slay her around. So I'm like, I am stressed. And I gave her the list of things that were stressing me out. And my mom's looking at me, and I'm sure she was thinking, like, that's nothing compared to like adult stress.
Right.
You're a kid. You shouldn't be this stressed.
And that's because your bandwidth was not as wide as hers.
Right. And same thing for Kaya. Kaya's stressors right now, probably this puzzle piece doesn't want to go in there, or my little sister keeps taking my toy, or I keep trying to open this door and it can't. And that's a huge deal.
Or imagine like Lily, how she's learning at a rate that's faster than her ability to communicate what she's learning.
Yeah, she doesn't have the words to say what she wants. And her biggest complaint right now is that she wants to get out of the space that we have for her. So there's like a fence area. She hates it.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know the words to say, I don't want to be here. I want to be there. So she grabs the fence and she shakes it really hard.
Yeah. And then when we let her out, she's happy.
She's happy. But that's her stressor right now. And we think it's funny, it's cute, but for her it's stressful. And we should be able to understand that and not get mad and say.
Not only should we be able to understand it, but we should take it seriously.
Yeah.
And I feel like what's interesting about that is that the whole thing about bandwidth is across the board for all human beings. So Lily's bandwidth is extremely small compared to Kaya, even compared to us, compared to a teenager. A teenager's compared to ours is different. People that are our age who are just more mature and have maybe a more stable household or have a better living situation or something, probably have more bandwidth than us, right? Or even for other versions of ourselves in the future or even in the past that had less stressors. And so we have to be able to have like the grace. I'm learning that we have to be able to have the grace for ourselves and also for others, and to also be able to have the grace for God even, because I think that sometimes we expect God to look at our situation and to fix it. Like that's what we want. I was listening to a podcast this morning where he was talking about the scripture where Saul gets shipwrecked. And he's basically just like, I spoke to God and he said, we're going to be shipwrecked, but don't worry, he's sparing our lives. And it's just like a matter of fact and hilarious. And he was just saying how, peace that surpasses all understanding.
I'm not sure I understand.
No, we don't understand that because it's about
I'm not sure I understand either, Siri. But anyways, that peace that surpasses all understanding only comes by and through.
Here's what I found.
Bro, are you serious? You gotta be kidding me. Only comes through relationship. Only comes through intimacy. And fear only goes away in the presence of peace. And so the only reason that Paul was able to have such peace in that moment, to communicate such peace in that moment, was because of his relationship with God, because his circumstances did not align with that peace. And I think that sometimes we expect God to just fix situations for us. I know I do. We may not communicate that, but we do. And that's prideful. And when I think of Lily and Kaya and their frustrations and how sometimes being straight up honest, sometimes I don't want to deal with them. Sometimes I don't have the patience to deal with a puzzle piece as if it is the most important thing in the world, because that's what she wants. And yet I have a Father that is perfect. So he does see my puzzle pieces and he does care every single time. And yet sometimes I think of him in a way as if he doesn't. And that's not fair.
I'm just gonna take a moment for all that. Because you just took us deep.
Deep.
Because it was like, and then brought God into the conversation, and
I mean, I learn stuff about God all the time through Kaya and Lily.
yeah, definitely,
Yeah, sure.
definitely all the time. When you were talking, I was remembering when Kaya was learning to drink out of a cup, and she was getting better at it, and as she was getting more like interactive too. When she would spill on the floor or wherever on the table, she would be like devastated at first. I don't know if you remember this, but she'd be like, "Oh my God!" Oh. She'd really just complain about it, and I listened to her.
Oh my gosh.
She's like, "Oh my gosh!"
Oh my gosh.
Oh. And she gets so frustrated over it, like it was over. And then it was like she would look at me like, "Oh my goodness." And I remember my response to her, and I'm like, "It's okay. We just have to clean it up now. Let's go find something to clean it up, and we'll be careful next time." And we repeated that so many times because it happened so many times that now when she does it or when Lily does it, it's so good to hear her say, she'll still have her emotion because she can. It's annoying when you spill your drink or whatever it is. She'll spill it. She'll go, oh my gosh. And then she'll go, "Mommy, I spilled it." Or if Lily spills it, she goes, "Oh my gosh, Lily." And then she goes, "Mommy, I spilled it. I need to clean it up, Mommy."
And to Lily, "It's okay, I'll help you."
"Yes, it's okay. I'll help you, Mommy." Versus what my response could have been, "Oh my God, Kaya, you spilled again? Stop spilling.
Yeah.
You're making a mess. Give me that." It's a totally different response. How would she respond to her sister? That's how I responded to her.
The same exact way.
How would she handle it? Whenever I'm not around and Kimberly is crying, what does Kaya do? She looks for a toy. She looks for her ball or her pacifier. And she goes, "It's okay, Lily. It's okay."
I hate that name, by the way. Pacifier.
Hacks the passy. It's okay. Here. She just tries to put it in her mouth, and so even sometimes say, "Kanya's here."
Yeah, that's my favorite. It's just like,
Yeah.
don't cry. Kanya's here, and she's learning that. She's learning that from us.
From us.
You know, you bring up that story, and to me, like, another story comes to my mind where Alex first started living with us.
About my brother.
Yeah, Alex is Joanna's brother, and so my brother-in-law, he was living with us, and he is about 13 years younger than you.
He's 30. I'm 33. So yeah,
Yeah. So
12 years younger. He'll be 21.
So he started to live with us, and there was a day where I think I was watching TV and he came by to get something off of the couch, and he spilled my water. A huge cup of water. I would always get like this really, really big cup of water, almost 30 ounces of water in the cup. And it spilled like all over the couch, on like the pillows, and like on the floor. And when he spilled it, he like froze. And my immediate reaction was just like, "Oh no, bro, it's all good. You just pass me the like tissues." And he walked away and he got them, and then I started to clean them up, and I asked him to help me, but he helped me. And that was it. And I went to go get more water afterwards. And it was just like really chill. And he, afterwards, I don't remember if it was immediately or if it was later on, he like came to me and thanked me. He said, "Thank you for not blowing up when I spilled your water." It makes me want to cry.
Yeah. So for not everyone knows my story, my backstory, but I have a chaotic life, or I've had a chaotic life, and I'm gonna try to say this in the best way that I can. As parents, like you don't have a handbook. There's no manual. You parent in the best way you know how. Okay.
Open the floodgates of heaven.
You parent in the best way that you know how. Depending on the kind of parent you are, your intentions, your upbringing. You come in with your intentions and your baggage and your past and your trauma and your successes and the good things. And in my upbringing, my parents came in with that. And my dad was really hard on us. He was not an easy parent. He was not an easy father. It was hard. So the way that he would react sometimes, and as most Spanish parents do, they blow up, You spilled something, it's like, "What's wrong with you? ¿Qué tú quieres hacer en la vida?" You went from spilling a cup of milk or water or your juice to what decisions are you making with your life? What are you going to be in the future because you spilled something? But that's, it gets so exaggerated and blown out of proportion. And in my household, a lot of things were blown out of proportion to a larger extent. And a lot of these things really mark us in really big ways. And without telling someone else's story, my brother was marked, as I'm sure any of you can think of something that marked you. And so that moment was really big because my dad would probably react like, "The heck is wrong with me?" in a really hurtful way. So in that moment, his bodily response, his emotional response was like, "Oh crap, I screwed up. I messed up bad, and he's about to just he's just gonna lose it on me. I'm gonna have to take it." And so he tensed up. And then when you didn't, you define all of that, and it's like,
This isn't normal.
what? Yeah, that wasn't as normal. And so in parenting, if we're very intentional in creating a different type of normal. We're very intentional in how we respond, and we're not perfect at it. We don't get it right all the time.
No.
We lose our patience.
We don't.
We do. We lose our patience. We've tried different methods. We've dabbled into gentle parenting. We've dabbled into just do it the way our parents did it. It's hard to decide what's right. It is. All we can do is our best and lean on God. That's what we do, is just lean on God as much as possible. We do a lot of we're doing the best that we can to give them the best because we just want the best for our kids. But I think I've learned a lot that if I want to give my kids the best, then I need to be at my best. And there are a lot of things that I want to teach my girls, and a lot of things that I already see, the way that I see them react to things that I'm like, I also see myself in them. I'm like, man, I do that. Or I used to do that as a kid too. And I'm like, what's the best way to tackle that without just using my words? It's to model it.
Yeah.
It's to continue to do the work in me, recognize my own flaws, recognize my shortcomings. I don't want my daughters to turn to me and say, but you do it. You talk to papi like that.
Yeah.
You talk to people like that. Or this is how you handle situations, why can't I? And they're not right in being sassy like that. But, and I'm human, and I'm going to teach them, like, we're human, we're going to fall short. But I can't want to give you the best and not provide the best version of myself.
Yeah. And while your situation was not a little bit, but your situation was different. I still went through the similar thing where if I were Chito, I probably would have expected the same thing. Chito is Alex, that's his name. People were like, yo, who's this Chito guy?
Why the accent?
I don't know who our listeners are. Don't limit them to certain accents.
Okay. That's offensive. I don't know why.
No, play them. But that was a conscious choice that I made before that and in that moment. Because I have knee-jerk reactions that I resist all the time. The example I've talked about before was when one of the first times that Kaya fell, after I had been telling her to stop running and to watch out, and she kept doing it and kept doing it and kept doing it, and then she fell. And I remember you responded with such grace, you were just like, oh, are you okay? Which moms, that's typically what they do, usually. And I didn't do it, but my knee-jerk reaction was to say, that's what you get for not listening to me, and yelling it in her face and belittling her. And this is all happening in split seconds. You know how fast our thoughts are.
Yeah.
In split seconds, because if it wasn't in split seconds, then I would have done it. But in split seconds, it's my knee-jerk reaction. The whole process happens in my head, says, oh, this is what you need to do. And I deny it. And I still felt bad about it, even though I didn't do it. Even though what I did was I hugged her and I said, are you okay? And then I told her, hey, this is why Dad told you to stop running. And I explained it to her, and I had a conversation with her, and she understood, and I kissed her. I did the whole opposite. And still I felt guilty because my knee-jerk reaction was something that was done to me over and over again as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, is that crazy, is that wild how you can't even begin to understand what is inside of you. And then when you're a parent to a child, you see all of this stuff coming out. Mm-hmm. When you're married, you see all of that stuff coming out. And you learn about yourself. You learn about the way that things are supposed to be, the way that you want the way that you want your child to be treated. I think about all the time how Kaya and Lydia are probably going to choose a spouse that treats them the same way that I treat you. And I'll ask myself, am I treating Joanna well? Because I'm modeling what a relationship looks like. Mm-hmm. I'm modeling what they're gonna look for. They're not gonna be like, you know what, I want a guy like my dad. They're not going to do that, but there's certain things that they're going to pick up and it's gonna become their normal. Mm-hmm. So when they see it, they're gonna be like, oh, this is comfortable.
It's gonna feel like home.
This feels right. And then add into that a guy that they're physically attracted to, and boom. And if they're picking up things, the garbage that I don't want them to pick up, I can't get mad at them when they bring some bum dude to the house and I'm like, I don't like this kid. But I'm looking in the mirror. And that's scary. It's scary. Marriage holds up a mirror for you, and then childhood holds up another mirror for you. And before you know it, you're looking at all these imperfections where you have to choose either to ignore them or to do something about them. And that's not easy.
Yeah. So when you're thinking about all these things and how much like marriage just like lights this shine, shines this light.
Lights this shine.
All over, be with this other person from a totally different upbringing, just exposes all these things. And then you get like a rhythm eventually. And then you add kids to that and they start to expose even more things and just deeper things about yourself. And then if you're someone who like really wants to work on the things that are being exposed because, you know, you want the best and you want to make your family work and you want all this family and whatever, you can stumble upon perfection and then obsess over it and wanting to be the best parent and wanting to be the best spouse and wanting to get it all right, that you can miss the moment or you can sabotage it and you just don't allow yourself, you start to stunt your growth and you start to drive yourself crazy because that's all you can think about. And it's like these running thoughts that don't stop. And I have found myself in that place sometimes. And it's hard because you have all the right intentions, but you don't realize how that can just start running and ruling over you. And I think what I've learned when I catch myself in that like rabbit hole is I say to myself, well, I don't have to have it all figured out and right. Not in marriage, not in being a parent. What my kids need to see, what I need to model is that I don't have it all together all the time. And what do you do when you don't have it together all the time? What do you do when you don't know the answer? What do you do when you have something that you're struggling with, that you're dealing with, and you need help?
Yeah.
You ask for help. You lean on God. You surrender. And so I have to remember to continually surrender. And I have to model that for the girls so that they learn to surrender. One thing that Kaya has a hard time with is asking for help sometimes. She'll get so frustrated. She doesn't want help. Yeah. Like right here, any moment you want the help, just say it. And we'll repeat the words. And she'll get angry and she'll cry and she'll scream, she'll growl. She won't answer help. And it's whatever this, and I know the feeling because I've been there. I still do it sometimes. I won't cry. Well, maybe I will growl. Maybe I'll growl. And it's like, I have to figure this out. And then you just get like this tunnel vision. And in order for them to learn, they're going to have to see it from us. They have to learn how to surrender, what that looks like, and leaning on each other for that. And just like how we've been teaching her, emotions are okay, and angry emotions and frustrated emotions are okay. Like, you can be angry at us for telling us that we have to stop this or we have to go. You can be frustrated that we have to take turns or whatever. You can be that. You don't always have to be happy, but you have to learn how to deal with those things and how you're going to respond, what you're going to do with that frustration, what you're going to do with that anger. And, you know, we're still learning. Adults still don't have that together either. But yeah, that's something I think that's always something that grounds me and anchors me is it's okay. They don't love you because you're perfect. They love you because you're you.
And you want to be perfect and you want to give them the world. And one of the biggest things that I'm learning, because they don't care about that, is that what really matters is the little things.
Mm-hmm.
When Kaya says to me, Dad, you want to do a puzzle? When she says, you want to go for a walk? Or when I say, hey, Kaya, you want to go for a walk? And I know she loves walks. And I remember seeing this thing early on when Kaya was maybe like 1. It said, anything that your child asks you for that is really not that big of a deal, give it to them. Like, not in a spoiled type of way, but if she says, hey, Dad, we want to dance. And I'm tired, but it's not a big deal for me to get up and dance with her. And I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, but a lot of times when that thought comes up, I'm like, I'm going to get my butt up and dance with her. Because when she looks back at any of these memories that stick, because she just now hit the age where the furthest back you could go scientifically, I suppose. I mean, when she has these thoughts, or if she doesn't even have memories, maybe she just has emotions about it. She's not going to be like, oh, I remember in the first 3 years of my life, we were living with Nana and Mommy and Papi were struggling financially, and they were trying to make the business work, and Mommy wasn't able to cook the meals that she really wants to cook because she's like an amazing cook. Or I had yogurt for breakfast a lot, which she requests all the time. Like, she's not gonna look at these things that sometimes we become so fixated on. Like, lately I've been thinking about how, like, we haven't been able to go on vacation. And I'm just like, Kai was born out of the pandemic. And so it was impossible back then. And then also we've been tight. So, but she don't care.
No.
She don't care. I remember back to my childhood and we were poor as dirt. I remember none of that. I didn't even understand. What I remember was that my mom loved me. And that she loved to take me to places when she could. And that I was fed every day, you know? And sometimes I have to remind myself that because I think you said something earlier about getting sucked out of the moment. We have a wider bandwidth, which is a blessing. But the curse of that is that with the wider bandwidth comes bigger problems. And because we have bigger problems, sometimes we get so fixated on those problems that we lose out on the special moments that are tiny. But when we go to the sprinkler and they're jumping around with pure joy, should I be so overwhelmed with whatever problem it is of the week that I forget to look at my daughter's smile? I think anybody should do that. And so I'm learning to live in the moment, even if the moment is not in the most ideal way that I want it to be. To live in that moment and enjoy it, to try to create moments for my family. Because I really believe in the power of parents, but also even as a father, I really believe that I really have the power to change the atmosphere of my home. And so sometimes many times I want to use that power, that ability to start a dance party out of nowhere and to fill my daughters up with joy. And for that moment, maybe the problem still exists, but for that moment, In fabric food, it's everything.
Yeah. I love what you just said because we really do have the power to create an atmosphere out of nothing. I mean, like, we both work typical 9 to 5 and extra hours outside of that. And it breaks my heart to not be able to be with our girls more time. And as soon as we get home, it's cook dinner, clean them up, take a shower, try to do something with them, get them to bed on time. And it just goes by so fast and it hurts my soul. And so I'm like, okay, I could either rush through all of this and try to do it as fast as I can and get some time with them, but that's not really ideal because I'll get about 10 minutes. Or I can just create the atmosphere. How can I make this fun? How can I make chores fun?
Yeah.
And so, and some of you have seen like my Instagram stories. I'll start cooking. I'll strap Lily on, like if Eric's not there, I'll strap Lily on, because I can still do that with her. And I'll turn on the Alexa, turn on some music, and we'll have a dance party while we're cooking.
Yeah.
Or Kaya's cooking. And we do that, or Eric is there and he joins us, and so we're in the kitchen and I'm cooking and we're cutting, beefcake cutting, and we're dancing and we're singing, and we have videos of this stuff, and it's so much fun. And then the next day Kaya wants to do it again. And Lily's happy because she's outside of the fence and she's with us.
That reminds me of that thing that says, sorry to interrupt, but that thing that says you don't have to create all these fun experiences for your kids, like play for them, it's everything. Mm-hmm. So her cooking with you, she's like over the moon.
Yeah. Yeah. And she asks to do it all the time. And I think that that's important. It's creating the atmosphere. If it's dreary in there, what can you do to liven it up? What can you do? And I mean, when God made the earth, it was void.
Yeah.
It was dark. It was nothing. It was no form to anything. There was no distinction of anything. And then he came and he started splashing some colors and separating the ocean and the sky, and he created an atmosphere. And that's what I think of when I think of creating an atmosphere. Like, when you're walking into a space, what are you doing with your presence? Is your presence just another body, or are you present?
Cool.
And I'm not perfect at it, but I feel like that's what I try to do as much as I can with our girls.
Yeah.
Even on my really tired days when they don't let us sleep.
Yeah. The big thing is that as a parent, you're gonna realize that you're not perfect at it. And you just have to keep striving to do your best, get 1% better each time. And it's worth it. It's worth it. Like, before we got married, I already had a reason to try to be the best that I could be. When we got married, I had another reason. And each child gives me another reason. And those reasons are good reasons. So, yeah, I think that's like a good
place to end.
Yeah. We've learned so much more through parenting, but those are like the big things. Those are the big themes, because you learn small things each time, but also the big themes are just so life-giving and can change your whole perspective on so much. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, for being with us today. We are currently on the journey to our first 100 subscribers. So if you enjoyed this and you are still here, would you consider subscribing? I think that we're gonna have some dope content, so we'd like for you to stick around. And we want to thank you for making it this far. If you even want to take it a step further and share it with somebody that you think might enjoy it, then that sounds good too. All right, guys, you guys have an amazing week, and we'll see you again next time for another episode every Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Oh, millennial.
So many.
Can't not do it.
Okay.